Joining us on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line right now is a WWE legend and the focus of A&E's biography, WWE Legends, Season 2, premieres Sunday, July 10th at 8 p.m. on A&E. One of those who are being featured this season on the program, Goldberg, on the Rich Eisen Show. How you been, Goldberg?
I've been doing great, my friend, and yourself?
I'm doing just fine. So, have you seen the biography on you yet, or you're waiting?
Rich, I'll be honest with you, man. I don't really like to watch anything that I've quote unquote performed in, but I have seen excerpts, and barring myself tearing up a little bit, I was quite entertained before I had to turn it off.
No kidding.
So, like I said, I don't like to watch anything that I'm in. Actually, I'm always quite critical of myself, whether it's a documentary or whether it's a live performance. I'm just that meathead that always likes perfection.
Well, how did you get started on your wrestling career, Goldberg? How did that start for you?
It's a really long story. I guess initially. My brother was Ric Flair's. One of my brothers was Ric Flair's housemate in college, so I guess that's the first tie to it. Kevin Greene was one of my roommates at the Rams. He gave a glorious Hulk Hogan impression.
I bet.
And always said that I should be a professional wrestler. When I was at the University of Georgia. Quite obviously, we spent a lot of time in Atlanta during, those days, and I'd rub shoulders with a lot of the current wrestlers, and there were a number of good guys, and I never really desired to be one, nor did I assume that I would ever be one, but fate have it. I unfortunately didn't succeed at my first love, which was being a 10-year veteran in the NFL, though I did play a couple of days, seemingly. But, I kind of fell into wrestling. I had worked on my physique, my physical stature for so long in prepping and playing in the NFL that it was, I won't say that I'm a man of theater, but I thought it was a fairly natural progression. At least I thought so at the time, and my accountant did also. So, you're posed with ultimatums, crushed dreams. It's all part of growing up, and it was an option that I chose. I was lucky. I trained quite hard. I kind of applied the work ethic that I had in the NFL. In playing football throughout my life, to wrestling, and with an open mind, and mixed martial arts making a huge presence be known in entertainment at the time. I kind of had an idea, and I followed a dream. That dream was to succeed and try to be somebody that kids could look up to. And set a good example for them, and make a decent living. So I was a combination of being in the right time at the right place with the right work ethic and a lot of luck.
Goldberg here on the Rich Eisen Show. I'm one of the few in this business who can ask this question the way I'm going to ask it, Goldberg, is football and wrestling. My Jewish mother would never have allowed that in a million years.
My dad, hey, bro, listen.
Ever.
I called my dad, and he hung up on me the first time I told him.
I mean, how'd you pull off this trick? A nice Jewish boy from Oklahoma getting into football and wrestling. How did that happen?
Yeah, my dad, the OBGYN, and my mom, the concert violinist in the Chicago Philharmonic. I was far from the prototypical person to segue into the business, but like I said, I had some good friends that were in the business. I had a good in, and Jim Ross had a lot to do with my first meeting in the wrestling business, and Jim covered me in high school football, for God's sakes. And it's just all about being in the right place at the right time. And and trying to be forward thinking and apply what I had learned and what I had centered my life on for my entire life, which was football, and try to apply it to something else. Because truthfully, that was the only thing I was pretty good at.
Well, I mean,
so
I remember taking my mother, Eveline, a school teacher. You had your mom, Ethel, was a classic violinist. My mom, Eveline, was a kindergarten and second grade and first grade teacher. I remember taking her to her first ever football game at the Big House at Michigan when I went there. I was a student sitting in the stands, and there's a roughing the kicker penalty. And she asked what the flag was for. I told her it was roughing the kicker, and she goes, "The kicker's not allowed to be touched." And I'm like, "No." She goes, "Oh, I would have allowed you to kick." That's what she said to me, Goldberg. That's what she said.
Sounds like Happy Gilmore. Not Happy Gilmore. One of Sadler's great movies.
Yeah, it sounds like Waterboy. Sounds like Waterboy. Yeah,
Waterboy, exactly.
Pretty much, yeah. But I was just, I was more the newspaper boy. That's what I was. I got into the writing aspect of things. So, Goldberg here on the Rich Eisen Show. You mentioned moments ago about Kevin Greene. He was your roommate. That's who you roomed with the Rams.
One of my short stints at the Rams. I had been through 2 training camps, and I remember we were roommates for I think it was the second one, and what an absolutely wonderful human being he was, and just horrible what happened.
Right.
He was a huge influence on me. I mean, a huge influence, and let's go into it.
Sure.
I go into the NFL I was very lucky to even get an opportunity. I get lucky enough to be coached by a Jack Youngblood, and then have a roommate like a Kevin Greene. And then years later, after I fail at the one thing that I had dreamed that I would succeed at, Kevin Greene becomes my tag team partner while I was on top of the world in the wrestling business at World Championship Wrestling. And like the Hogan story, what was the coolest moment of my wrestling career? Well, it was the night I beat Hogan at the Georgia Dome, but it wasn't because I beat Hogan. It was because my teammates were there from the Falcons. So what it meant to me to have Kevin Greene as a tag team partner in professional wrestling and see the enthusiasm that this man had for it and for life and for football, for God's sakes. It was kind of a full circle moment that the wrestling business has been able to provide me that nothing on the planet would have been able to provide me that I didn't acquire on the football field.
So let's dive in a little bit more, Goldberg, into that night in the Georgia Dome. So let's set it up. I mean, you played football at University of Georgia. You have 3 years with the Falcons, right, in the NFL. And here you are now at the top of your wrestling craft with Kevin Greene as a tag team partner, right? And you said there are Falcons, your teammates in the building while you beat Hulk Hogan that night? That happened?
Well, Kevin was my tag team partner at another event.
Yes.
It was years prior. But the night that I wrestled Scott Hall, and then early in the night, and then I wrestled Hogan, later in the night for the World Heavyweight Championship. The Falcons, I mean, they were there. Obviously, in the wrestling business, you do a lot of cross-promotion, and these guys are as smart as possible as far as getting the product out there. So I, quite obviously, picked up the phone and called every one of my teammates and said, "Listen, dudes, anybody who wants to come down, let's do it, and let's have a blast." And we concocted a way in. And after I beat Hulk Hogan in front of 45,000 people in Atlanta at the Georgia Dome, where I had played football, when we went off the air, Hogan and his minions beat me down and handcuffed me to the ring and spray painted me. And who, lo and behold, comes out to save me is, I'd say, 20 guys from the Falcons, whether it's Jesse Tuggle or Jamal Anderson or Chuck Smith or Cornelius Bennett or Shane Droney. I mean, for me, I'm just laying in the corner just laughing and going, man, these guys have no idea how cool this is to me. and equally, it was cooler to them because, I don't know, for some reason, I get it. You know, professional athletes like to live vicariously through us.
Sure.
Because we're theater at the same time. And so we can quite obviously get away with things that they could never get away with. And so that's part of the allure as to participating. But it was, for me, it was just the coolest night of my life. I
bet, man. So what you're saying, essentially, even though you're not saying it, I'll say it for you, is Deion Sanders is not the only two-sport star to toil inside the Georgia Dome. It's Goldberg as well.
Well, I wasn't going to go there, but the second one isn't necessarily based upon quantifiable athletic talent. Yeah. So, it's more objective. But,
yeah, those are the Dirty Bird Falcons years that you're talking about. Those are some good Falcons teams. Cornelius Bennett's, I kind of forgot he spent some time there, and Jamal and Jesse Tuggle's a great name from back in the day too. I haven't heard that in quite some time.
I'll tell you what, I mean, and the guys that I learned from, Jumpy Gathers.
Nice.
I mean, you have to remember Jumpy.
Yes,
obviously, he's got 15 of his family members in the NFL, but and Pierce Holt. Pierce now is a neighbor of mine in a neighboring county in Texas. We see each other quite often, and Pierce, was my idol playing in the league, and we were like locker mates, and I mean, now we spend time together. So I mean, it's funny how that team was such a successful team, but I mean, there were so many characters on that team. Ironhead, you had Scott Case, you had, man, you could just go on and on and on about all of those guys. And I mean, you had Mike Ken, who was 21 years in the league, and then what was his name? The linebacker who was 21 years in the league, Clay Matthews.
Of course, unbelievable, man. What a journey.
It was an unbelievable time.
What a journey. And I just remember my tag team partner from Sports Center, Stuart Scott, loved you, Goldberg. Loved you. Absolutely.
Stuart was the man, dude. I mean, I loved Stuart from the first time I met him and all the charitable stuff that we did together. And I mean, you guys, you remember Larry Burnett, right?
Of course.
My brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I didn't know that.
A tie with you guys that's my brother-in-law.
I had no idea. Literally, I had no idea.
Well,
all I know is that, obviously Stuart loved you, talked about you all the time. On occasion, may or may not have humble bragged a little bit about knowing you and hanging out with you. I always try to bring his name up. He's been gone for way longer than I could even have imagined. So I kind of like bringing him up every now and then when I know somebody has a tie to him, and a significant one, just like you.
Well, I'll tell you what, Stuart. I mean, not only what an unbelievable human being and everything that he stood for. He's one of those guys that you just bring up his name and you can't but smile.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what the situation, quite obviously, I would absolutely do anything on this plan to have him here with us. But the fact that he's not, and that you mentioned his name, and the first thing that comes to my mind is just a big smile. I mean, he made such a big impact on every person that he met.
True.
And I just can't say enough good things about him.
Hey, man, congratulations on Biography, WWE Legends. The Undertaker and also Kurt Angle are just a couple of the other subjects for Season 2 Biography, WWE Legends, premiering Sunday, July 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern on A&E. Belated congrats on the Hall of Fame induction in 2018, or, screw it, mazel tov to you, Goldberg. Mazel tov on everything going on.
Well, I can't thank you enough. It's an honor and a privilege, number one, to be considered for one of these biographies, number two, to be in the presence of all the people that I'm debuting with this series for the second season, and to be on your show and to talk to you again, brother. My friend. It's been an honor and privilege. So you be well.
It's been too long. Drive safe wherever you're going, Goldberg. You be well. Thanks again for coming on the Rich Eisen Show. Greatly appreciate it.
Honor and a privilege. Take care, my friend.
That's Goldberg, everybody.